Once again, correct grammar, spelling, punctuation. So when I say correct grammar, let's understand these terms in detail little bit. Well, while I make all the attempt as a writer not to confuse the reader is what I mean by correct grammar. I apply the knowledge of tenses, which is the most important segment in English grammar, while at least I write a text or I like to communicate through my writing. Your grammar plays a very important role. Under grammar comes your tenses, your subject verb agreement rules, word order rules as such, that is how English language follows the word order standard, unlikely, which has been followed by the other languages in terms of a different word order structure. So ensure that you do not get those Indian languages translated to English language. If you do so, then you're grammatically incorrect. So correct grammar means being apt in my tenses, that is I do not switch over between a past tense and a present tense while I'm communicating. Let's be very clear, an action which has been completed, an action which is done, I have to use past tense to communicate that. An action which is ongoing, I have an opportunity to use the ing form, which is the continuous form in English tenses. And then I talk about future and futuristic information, I have a tense called future tense. So please be mindful each time when you're selecting tenses to convey anything that you wish to convey, a past incident, incident which is going on right now, or incident that will happen in the future. Moving on to understand spelling, well, spelling plays an important role because again we have all the opportunity to confuse the reader. Now there is a spelling variation when it comes to American way of writing and UK British way of writing it. So be mindful when you're selecting the choice of word and your context to the audience level that you're writing for. So words such as color and color both exist, and one is American and one is British in its spelling. So when your audience is American, when you're applying a job to an American company, however, though we have the American word spelling, but we all are supposed to follow UK English, British way of writing it, because that is a standard English and that has been accepted worldwide. So keep that in mind. Punctuation, well, there are a lot of rules in order to convey information is smooth going, in order to give that right pause while the reader is reading to sink in the information. So it's important that I apply the right punctuation technique when I am writing a text or an email. So keep this in mind. Let's move on to understand what we have in store in terms of making writing more effective. So writing skills are an important part of communication. I guess we all agree this by now. Good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with clarity and ease to a far larger audience than through face-to-face or telephonic conversation. So writing skills, you have opportunity to create impressions with a document or with a reference of your writing as a reference document to go back, link it, either to be taken as an example for good reasons or either to be complained on that you have not written good or you have confused the reader. So once again, good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with all clarity and ease to a far larger audience and through a face-to-face or telephonic conversation. You might be called upon to write a report, plan a strategy at workplace. Now that you guys are applying for job roles and you want to get started with organizations, there is all possibility that as an employee you might be asked to write a report or devise a strategy. In this, you have to showcase your writing skills effectively. And not to forget, guys, a lot of organizations which take interview as to check your written communication. So there are a lot of companies today globally accept one of the interviews in their interview schedule as to check on your written communication. So understand written communication plays an important role not just after the job but also to get a job as well. And so today when anyone can be by themselves to be a writer, You have to ensure that you read correctly, that is to right set of people, and also communicate effectively through writing skills. So we'll move on to understand something in detail, and we can certainly discuss about certain facts of effective writing skills, certain facts about how to make your writing more nicer and acceptable. So in general, how do we define effective writing? Well, to communicate specific information or ideas utilizing the formats, language, content relevant to the workplace. Let's look at the slide for the definition for yours and mine understanding. So to communicate specific information or ideas utilizing the formats, language and content relevant to the workplace. So this is what I mean by the definition of effective writing skill, and we all can come to this phase provided we put lot of practice and get there. Look at these quotes just to get little motivation to be a good writer. So a writer doesn't solve problems, he or she allows them to emerge. And then we have authors who never give you something to disagree with, will never give you anything to think about. So this is again a very brilliant thought by Michael Larocco, who is again known for his excellent writing skills, that if a writer doesn't give you a chance to disagree, a writer doesn't give you a chance to come back, argue or give out his or own opinion, he or she is not feeding you with right information. Okay, and moving further, the ABCs of writing, let's literally jump into the strategy and make it more effective as to how do I make my writing skills effective and get it there. Writing aims to capture a thought or idea to transfer it to a permanent format, making it tangible. So basically a thought, idea, opinion is being transferred to something more tangible. So let me make a note of it to make you all better understand this. So writing, what are we doing with writing? Is writing aims to capture a thought, an idea, opinion, maybe a suggestion, or advice that you have received as a writer. You want to convey this to your reader. All this leads and make a more tangible sort of presence. So through these things you make it tangible. The responsibility for the transfer falling squarely on the writer's shoulder. That is, as a writer, entire responsibility on us, that is either you and me when we are writing a text, to convey that right information effectively. Moving further, if communication is the ultimate goal, write for your audience and not for your personal style. So if you want to convey something more effective, very important piece of information, ensure that you do not follow your own personal style, rather go by what audience is demanding and what audience needs are. Verbal communication is aided by non-verbal cues such as like hand movements, facial expressions. Writing has to be much more clearer than spoken language because it lacks these assisting cues. Well, by now we all agree, we have discussed non-verbal communication, that is body language. So while I am talking face to face with anybody, I have lot of hints and cues that I can through which I can convey a certain piece of information to the listener. But in written context, I do not have these cues, and hence it is very critical and important to follow the right guidelines and convey that information effectively. So it is all on the ownership, and as a responsibility it should be carried by the writer. Objective, factually based writing is stronger than more persuasive than writing that relies on opinion hearsay. So again, you have different types of writing to talk about it, and that is how you can convey what you want to convey as a writer. Any idea can be conveyed through writing, get this very clear. If you can think it, you can write it. So that's how, if you want to be a good writer, your thinking and clarity has to be absolutely cleared. If you really are clear with your thoughts, your opinions that run your mind, then yes, you can make yourself a better writer, a good writer too. Great care is required to ensure that your message is accurately interpreted by its audience. So you need to be very careful of the fact what are you trying to convey, rather than just giving a doubt or all possibility for the reader to really get the other or unlikely information when he or she is reading the text. Nearly and statement can be shortened while retaining its full content. Concise wording is less likely to be misinterpreted. So you have to be careful about the fact that all possibilities where your text can be misinterpreted. Moving further, there's always more to say about a topic. There's always different styles as well. The same topic can be conveyed, and a lot of accomplished writers or writers who are still getting exposed can get different views and thoughts to that specific topic. Good writing is composed of many ideas, all connected by a single purpose, and hence this can lead towards making it effective. Every sentence should relate to the central goal of the paper, that is whatever that central theme that you have decided to convey. So general writing tips, let's move there now. Now that we have heard about the ABCs of writing, that is the most important steps in writing. Now we will talk about the in and out, what goes into writing skills. Be conscious of paragraph size and structure. Keep each appropriate for the paper's purpose. Now not everybody has time to read everything that you want to write and convey. So see to that you're concise, you're precise, to the point, and not exceeding that number of characters that you're supposed to exceed. Only when you've been asked for certain standards, like maybe in the interview process, maybe during certain examination setup, or maybe during a time where you're being asked to write with character limitations such as not more than 250 words or less than 250 words, then you have to abide by it. And then moving on, open each paragraph with a statement and then follow that statement with the evidence. So this is how your writing style has to be. Do not present new points at the ends of the paragraphs. Make a claim first and then go about it. Moving further, supporting claim has to be given. That is, each time you're giving out a sentence or a statement or a generalized fact, you have to give lot of backing up of statistics, facts to convey what you want to convey there. And then, so we will also discuss more effectively about what goes into effective utilization of resources while we are trying to convey what we want to convey. So that is, different authors have different writing style, and it is important that we believe the fact that to what level of audience we are writing, what is that you want to convey. So most important again as a writer is you have to, if a writing task is given to us or given to you, then we have to really question ourselves into these two thoughts, that is who and what. That is, who you're writing this text or the conversation to, what you're writing. So if you can have clarity about these two, who and what, the two W questions, you can really make sense as a writer, be it an email communication that you're drafting or be it an official business communication that you're going to draft. Moving further, writing can be said to be the act of forming the symbols, that is making marks on flat surface of some kind. So you're just not scribbling out there, but you're trying to convey most important information, and that channel that you've chosen is written communication. Writing is a process where symbols have to be arranged according to a certain conventions to form words, and words have to be arranged to form sentences. So this is one of the bases to understand that good writing is all about conveying and through convention of that symbolic words together to make that sensible sentence. And when you make that sensible sentence, you're just adding value to the sentence, and hence the reader can imbibe the information, reader can go through and think about what is being conveyed. Writing involves encoding of a message of some kind that has been translated by your thoughts into language. Understand, it is all the writer's thoughts that are translated in writing. Any written communication, if you read a novel, a literature, a thought, or a newspaper article, it is all about the thoughts of a writer that has been translated to through written communication. Why writing is important? Well, writing aims to capture a thought or idea to transfer it to a permanent format, making it tangible. The responsibility for that transfer falling squarely on the writer's shoulder. If communication is the ultimate goal, write for your audience and not for your personal style. Writing has to be much clearer than spoken communication because it lacks the assisting cues. Great care is required to ensure that your message is accurately interpreted by its audience. This is only because we do not have non-verbal sort of communication while we are writing and we are trying to convey through a writing sense. Nearly any statement can be shortened while retaining its full content. Concise wording is less likely to be misinterpreted. Students' performance is assessed through written communication. Documentation is mostly done in written form. Moving further, types of writing. Now, this is a little important. Let's look at the slides and we will go in detail little one by one to understand. So, the first form is free writing, and then we have independent writing with process writing as well, and then we look to read essay writing. Then we have narrative writing, expository writing, and persuasive writing. So, I will give you like few moments for you all to understand what is this all about and why it is important to understand the types of writing. Okay. To talk about free writing and independent writing are very close terms. Process writing is something very specific to the process, to the guidelines being mentioned. Essay writing, I am sure we have encountered this in university and college days. Narrative writing, where you are narrating information or incident. Expository writing, that is a type of a journalism type of writing. Then we have persuasive, that is we persuade or try to convince the audience or the readers the text that we want to convey. Moving further, how to improve students' writing. So, this is quite a basic information. Dictation frequently at early stages, then we have scribbling and drawing lines just to ensure that we follow something of stages of writing. Drawing should be encouraged by providing time and materials. Give children ample opportunity, that is not necessarily at your stage. Maybe we can discuss more about essay writing right now. So, I want your concentration on the board, and maybe camera can focus on the board as well. Easy and essay. Okay. So, essay writing is one of the interview type as well, where you would be asked to write an essay based on a situation, or maybe a task would be provided to you based on the incident or the common general topics which are in the television, in the news. So, all you are supposed to do is try and go by the guidelines what is being asked to do, that is in case you have been asked to write a 250 word essay or a 300 word essay, a typical essay writing follows a structure. And let's see what the structure is. Well, it still has to be followed, these two W questions, that is who and what the text or the writing is for. And then we would understand a typical structure for essay writing, that is we start with the introduction, and then we have body of the topic, and then we conclude the topic. So this is a typical structure. More or less we have been following this structure, just that we are emphasizing it because this is how a typical essay still would start. In introduction, you're supposed to paraphrase, that is the question which is being said. So when I say paraphrase, the same question is being written more like a statement with different choice of words, and then you further explain the introduction part of it. And then we move on to get into the topic in detail. So it has been suggested maybe you can go by 2 to 3 paragraphs, keeping in mind 5 to 6 lines in each paragraph. And then we conclude the topic with our own opinion in case you've been asked to conclude and give out your strong opinions. Even in case you're not been asked to do so, you can still follow it as a conclusion towards your thoughts and opinion that you want to give out to this specific topic. So keep these things in mind. Once again, introduction, body of the topic, and conclusion. So this is to remember that we also have strategies to improve writing. Let's look at these slides to understand this. Scribbling, drawing lines, construct and deconstruct words, dot writing, dictation and copywriting. Well, these are different forms to not just help get your written communication, but also to make it more effective, also to make it follow a structure, to make your writing follow a typical structure. Okay. Now, food for thought. I would hurl words into this darkness and wait for an echo. And if an echo sounded, no matter how faintly, I would send other words to tell, to march, to fight, to create a sense of hunger for life that gnaw in us all. So this is one of the texts which has been captured by Richard Wright, American Hunger, who is known for his written communication skills. So how would you convey the same thought? So I'll go back, I'll place this slide for about a minute or so. I want you guys to read this, and if you have to convey the same thing in your own thoughts, how would you do so? Yeah. So this is food for thought. How would you convey the same piece of information when your turn is being given? So this is it with regard to your food for thought that we are talking about in terms of getting your written communication up. To talk about more on strategies front and to talk more effectively and give lot of information to you all, let us again explore something to get this information. Okay. So now effective writing is to talk about few topics specifically under effective writing. Developing good reading strategies. So you have to start developing reading so that you can make a lot of sense as a writer. And your tone in writing. Well, let me get this word up. And while in pronunciation as well, we have discussed this word extensively. Tone in writing. tone is nothing but your emotion. And it is important that we emote effectively and we express our thoughts effectively through writing. Punctuation, grammar, spelling, equally important. Organizing your thoughts is something we have to all work on. Structuring paragraphs and sentences is something we all have to abide by to make writing look more presentable. Writing to keep the reader engaged. Softening a negative message is equally important, and to sound more professional, more friendly, you need to soften the message. Effective writing skills. So, rules of effective writing, that is getting to the point, basic rules that I am supposed to follow. Being concise, then paragraphing, use of list, framing effective questions in case you want to convey a thought or you want the reader to get his or own opinions out, and how do you frame the question, that matters a lot. Use of non-discriminatory language, that is very important even while speaking, because you have to respect and do not give out strong opinions on politics, gender, religion, or maybe health issues of a person strongly until somebody comes and asks you. So, get this very clear that non-discriminatory language is supposed to be used. You are not supposed to discriminate anybody on basis of religion, caste, or for that matter the race. Punctuation, grammar and spelling with the tone. Choosing the right tone and conversational tone is very important. So, how do I make it conversational? That is, allow the reader to give out his or own opinions, maybe encourage the reader to read and give out information, and that is how you can make it effective. Being concise, that is to the point, is very important. Use of short sentences, that is start document with purpose. Creation of single screen view messages. Elimination of unnecessary words, that is example, avoid bad miscommunication in email writing. The word bad is a modifier which is used unnecessary. So, you can just try and see that you remove redundancy in form of your written communication and through avoiding all redundant words which are very commonly used in written communication. Use lesser number of words to convey the information, because you can add a lot of sense while you can communicate with little but you give out more thoughts. Paragraphing, short sentences, short paragraphs, that is 2 to 5 sentences, creates larger value to the reader. Psychologically it has been proven, when you allow a reader to give through your information, giving it like short paragraphs, the information is synced in well, the information is taken well. Opening the paragraph, the 5 W's, that is who, what, why, where and when are your 5 W questions. So, see if you would like to use these question form as your style of writing. Moving further, benefits of using, that is writer organizes thoughts, reader sees main points, important points are not overlooked. Formatting a list, use number of bullets, items should be parallel, capitalize the first word of each point, be consistent with punctuation. So, punctuation just is not followed in the first line, but punctuation has to be followed throughout the written communication, and failing which it cannot add value to your communication that you want to convey through your written form. Moving on, that is spacing of a list. Double spacing makes reading easier, double spacing makes reading valuable with screen space. Single spacing does not enhance the list, single spacing takes less room. That is, now this is like a typical way of writing it in a piece of paper to make it sound and look effective. Use of non-discriminatory language, let's discuss on this. Let's look at the slide to understand this clearly. So, non-discriminatory language, I would recommend do look up to the meaning of the word, but it means that you do not discriminate anybody through a word choice that you have selected, through the language that you are trying to convey. Non-discriminatory language is language that treats all people equally. Use language that is free of religious, age and sexual bias. Non-discriminatory language can come between you and the reader. So, let us discuss this little in detail. So, keep in mind that you have to respect the readers. You have to not just respect the time, but also the through the opinions that you want to convey without harming the trust of the reader. Use language that is free of religious, age and sexual bias. That is, you have to be mindful about the fact that we do not get anybody's gender in conversation, and we do not hurt people by being direct through getting statements directly from as religious, age and sexual bias as part of the conversation. Non-discriminatory language can come between you and your reader. So, be mindful about this, that this isn't going to be effective in case you allow your writing to follow these 3 pointers. You have to be careful on this. So, methods to avoid errors, that is, use spell check function, always proofread document. So, you need to be careful about this fact that the spell check as an option is a great savior and can come handy for various reasons. Always proofread before you share it officially. In fact, your email as well, that you are supposed to click a send button, ensure that you follow that as the rule, that you would proofread before you hit the send button to make it effective and good. Moving further, tone. How can I make sure my messages have the appropriate tone? Ask the following questions to make it sound look good. So, I want you guys to look at me for the explanation right now. How do we go about understanding? Well, we already agreed to the fact that tone is the expression, the emotion that you give out through either written communication or through speaking. And it is important that you are expressive while you give out the information to make your communication accepted, to make communication more personalized with a little human touch that you can give through tone. And English as a language should be spoken with that appropriate tone, and written communication again in English language has to be more inappropriateness with tone as one of the parameters to make it sound effective. Ask the following question, that is, while you are writing, why I am writing this document, and who I am writing to, and what to do, what would make them understand. What kind of tone should I use? So, when you are writing it in a formal context, of course, your tone has to be formal and professional. If you are writing to your friends, maybe a casual text or casual piece of information, you can certainly experiment it with informal tone and a little casual tone, but not unprofessional as such, but certainly little casual tone. Then what kind of tone should I use with a negative message? So, I am sure in writing we might encounter a point where we want to convey a negative thought or a negative emotion. So, when addressing faults or issues concerning an individual, maintain a professional tone that does not attack the individual, but that makes your position on the issue clearer. That is the non-discriminatory tone that we have already discussed on. Even if you would like to complain about a person, make a complaint about a person, and you are talking about certain experiences which did not go good, all you have to do is be mindful of the fact non-discriminatory, and still a professional tone has to be followed, even though it's a negative context that you are trying to convey. Example, I do not understand why you made such discriminatory remarks. So is the thought that if some author would like to convey. But the right way of writing is discriminatory remarks are not tolerated in the organization. Rather than be direct, you are trying to convey the same point by being diplomatic, by beating little around the bush over here, rather than being direct to the person. So, moving further, we will understand something interesting again. Writing comes more easily if you have something to say. So, do you have something to say? Then yes, writing can certainly comes easy to us. Let's look at this thought. I want you guys to look at the presentation, the slide. So, a writer doesn't solve problems, he or she allows them to emerge. So, basically you are not a person to really work and sort of sort out the communication of problems, but you are there to allow the problems to come and let the reader decide and opinionate about what he or she wants to opinionate on. So, this is something we can certainly discuss on, and I want your concentration here. So, what you can do is just go back, look into the strategies that we have explained and thought about it. In this consecutive video tutorial, we will extensively talk not just in lines with writing strategies, but we will help you get your writing strategies together. Thank you for watching. This brings to the end of this video tutorial, and we would have consecutive videos which will help you, assist you to be effective in your writing skills. Thank you for watching.